The film opens with a banker named Will, hiding inside a hotel. He's cooking when he hears a noise outside. When he checks, he finds a reindeer, which angers Will. But suddenly, some officers barge in and arrest Will. Will declares, "I am ready to fully assist the police." Just then, Officer Denny arrives and confronts Will. Will says, "I'm ready to accept any deal you make." Denny tells him, "You have to testify against the Mafia gangster whose accounts you handle." He then replies, "I'll only do that if I get full protection and security." Denny discusses this with her fellow officer. The next day, Denny and Will are traveling back to London on a small private plane. Will finds the plane quite old. Denny tells him, "We had to arrange this plane to return as quickly as possible, and you should have considered this before hiding in this small town." Denny then calls her partner and tells her they'll be back soon. Her partner retorts that the gangster Mafia lawyers must have sensed this. "That's why you need to get that accountant, Will," she says. Just then, the pilot arrives and meets them, and the three are about to leave. The pilot notices Will talking in the background, and Denny also has a gun. The pilot asks about Will, but Denny doesn't say anything. Denny then says, "We should probably leave." The three take off and the plane slowly moves forward. Denny feels the plane shaking a lot. The pilot asks him to put on headphones so they can talk, and they start talking. Will sees them talking from behind, and he also wants to talk. Meanwhile, Denny realizes the radio is off, and she says, "We should go back." The pilot then says, "It doesn't matter. They'll reach their destination soon." Suddenly, a bird hits the plane and is killed. This frightens Benny, but the pilot says it's nothing to worry about. It happens often. Just then, Will spots the pilot's ID from behind. He's shocked because the face looks completely different from their real pilots. Will tries to tell Denny about it, but she can't hear him, so he throws a button at Denny. When he looks back, Will tries to tell him, but the pilot is staring at him. So Will doesn't say anything and just makes excuses, saying, "We should go back. I'm not feeling well." Denny refuses to go. Suddenly, Denny also notices blood on the pilot's clothes. She's also unsure and starts talking about the route. She asks, "Who's your contact officer?" The pilot says, "The same officer assigned us to this." Renee says, "Our contact officer is a Pole, which is quite nice." The pilot replies, "Yes, he is a Pole. He's really nice and he paid me a lot for this job." Hearing this, Denny said, "I didn't talk to any officer named Paul about this because there ain't one." Pilot replied, "Oh, then that means you finally caught me." And the two began fighting. Pilot tried to hit Denny, but Denny was giving him a good fight. Pilot punched Denny, knocking him unconscious. He then tells Will, "Will, you shouldn't have betrayed the gangsters," and he's now furious because he works for them too. Will says, "I'll give you $1 million. Just let me go." Pilot asks, surprised, "Where did you get so much money?" Will replies, "I used to steal small amounts from the gangsters, and he still doesn't know." Pilot replies, "You don't look so mean and cunning by the looks of it, but even if I take the money, I'll have to kill this girl, so there's no evidence left." Just then, Denny regains consciousness and electrocutes the pilot with a shocker, causing the pilot's cap to fall off, revealing he has no hair. Denny then delivers a powerful shock to his neck, knocking him unconscious and throwing him away. Meanwhile, their plane is about to crash. Denny manages to control the plane and lifts it back into the air. Will then tells her to put the plane on autopilot. Then they see that the thug, the pilot, has fainted. Denny asks, "Will, are you okay?" Will replies, "No, I'm not at all fine, and now we have to deal with it." What should they do? Danny and Will thoroughly examine him and tie him up. Danny finds Mafia arrest papers and photographs of both of them in his clothes. Will notices that the pilot knows his mother's address, which frightens him deeply, fearing that the pilot could kill them. Danny retorts, "He's with us, so he won't do anything. We'll get him off the plane and send him to jail." Then they discover that neither the GPS nor the radio on the plane is working. They try to fix the radio and it works. This time they speak to a man. Danny tries to talk to him, but the signal is very weak. Then Danny remembers he has a satellite phone and calls his fellow officer again. She asks, "Have you guys arrived?" Danny replies, "No, our pilot attacked us, because he's not the real pilot. The gangster Mafia sent him to kill us. But now we're safe and have knocked that thug unconscious." Danny's companions are happy for them. They say, "We don't know how to fly the plane, so try to send someone to this line to help us." The pilot also gets up and says, "I can help you." He laughs. Danny says, "Well, tell me how to fly it." The pilot says, No, I won't." Then Danny angrily threatens him with a gun. The pilot says, "Firing a shot at the plane will upset its balance and all three of us will crash." Danny then tells him, "I'll send you to jail." He laughs and says, "It's no problem, because I've always been in jail." Then Danny's companions connect him with a captain, who starts asking him everything about the plane. Following the captain's instructions, they take the plane higher into the air. But due to the absence of the GPS, they still had no idea where the plane was. Captain Denico was slowly teaching Will how to fly the plane. The pilot then started singing and threatening Will that he would go to his mother's house and kill her. This enraged Denny, and Will angrily asked, "How did this thug, this bad guy, get my mother's address? Because I never recorded this anywhere." Denny also found this strange. Just then, she received a call from a fellow officer, and the two were discussing their next plan. The officer explained, "We went to your real pilot's house where we found his body. Someone had gouged out his eyes and cut off his ears and nose. That meant he was given a very horrific death." Piari then realized that the thug from their plane was responsible for this. She then asked her partner who else knew about the case. He said, "Me and my boss Jack. We discussed it with the team and gave you the mission to bring Will back." Will then tells Denny that their plane is about to hit a cliff. Denny then takes the plane up, and the tremors cause the pilot to grab a hidden knife, and the plane also crashes into an ice floe. However, it flies away safely. This frightens Will and Denny. The pilot tries to free himself with the knife, but he can't bring it up. So he hides it, and Denny puts on his glasses. To tease them, the pilot reveals that Denny is a personnel officer and was once tasked with protecting a witness, but he ended up getting the witness killed. Hearing this, Will is horrified, but Denny becomes furious. The pilot replies, "Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have told you that." Denny angrily asks, "How do you know all this?" and starts hitting the pilot. But he doesn't explain anything, instead saying, "Yes, you didn't actually kill the person you killed, you burned him alive. And I also know that it wasn't you who did this, but someone else." Hearing this, Denny became even more enraged. She grabbed the pilot and beat him severely. Meanwhile, the pilot took off Denny's glasses and used the pilot's stick to cut his rope. Denny became quite confused and nervous. Will then told her to calm down. Denny then told him that 3 years ago I was sent on a special mission in which I had to bring back a girl as a witness. She was in a hotel, so I talked to her and convinced her to become a witness. But the Mafia sent goons against her to the hotel and burned the girl down, and I couldn't save her. Danny's partner called again. Daddy told him. She tells Will that this man knows everything about Will, even about me, and that you'll have to talk to your boss about this, Jax. Someone on your team is leaking these things, spreading all this information. Then her colleague says, I trust my entire team. Denias, do you trust your boss, Jack? He replies, yes, he's the most important person and I don't think anyone would be leaking your information. Denny and Will's refusal to listen to her raises doubts about their marriage. So Denny calls headquarters and asks to speak with their boss, Jack. But she's told that Jack, as usual, is on vacation in Hawaii and they'll contact him after speaking with him. A short while later, Jack contacts Denny again. She says, Sir, my female colleague from your team works with the gangster mafia and she passed all our information to them. Hearing this, Zaid asks, Are you completely sure of this? She says, Yes, I'm sure. Meanwhile, Denny spots a shore. He tells the captain about it and they start moving toward the shore, leaving both of them overjoyed. But then Denny remembers something and asks Will, I read your file, which says you handle mafia transactions, and I also learned that you send a portion of the money to Hawaii. Will replies, Yes, we have to pay a weekly salary to an officer who fully supports the mafia. Hearing this, Denny understands that the officer is none other than Jack. He's the real enemy, and he's the gangster who's in cahoots with the mafia, not her partner. So, she calls her partner and tells her everything. She also says, I'm sorry, I suspected you. That's why I called Jack and told him, You're in cahoots with the mafia. You're betraying us, so please take care of everything. Will replies, You're crazy. You've ruined everything. Now, hang up the phone and get lost. Let me handle this matter. The two were heading towards the shore, where they spotted a ship, whose name she relayed to the captain, who then located them and they were overjoyed. The captain then ordered them to go the opposite way, and they began heading that way. Meanwhile, the pilot broke free. He stabbed Will and grabbed Denny, snatching his gun. He then demanded, Who will save you both? Will began torturing Denny. Will then pulled out a knife and killed the pilot. Denny also attacked the pilot with a flare gun, causing him to suffer further injuries. Denny then stabbed him again, knocking him unconscious. Will returned to find Will badly injured and told him he wouldn't be hurt. Will was terrified, and he said, Please save my mom. Denny then said, I won't let anything happen to you. She began treating Will. After a while, the pilot regains consciousness, this time handcuffed by Danny. The captain calls again. Danny tells him that Will is seriously injured and also explains how he knocked the pilot unconscious. The captain says, You'll see a runway in a short while and you'll have to land your plane there, but it could be very dangerous. Danny agrees. Will, also very nervous, says, It's all my fault. Danny replies, No, it's all the mafia's fault. Will then says, I stole a lot of money from the mafia, around 10 million, and that's why I ran away. Then the police caught me, and now they're making me a witness. Now you promise that if anything happens to me, you'll save my mom from the mafia. Danny says, I won't let anything happen to you or them. Just then, Danny receives a call from Jack. He says, Danny, you were right. That partner of yours is the traitor. We went to apprehend her, but she had an accident and was killed. Denny then realized Jack had killed her and now she blamed him for her betrayal. She said, I know you're the traitor. Jack replied, I'm not the one. You've misunderstood. Denny replied, I'm not the one. I found out everything about your base in Hawaii and the payment transactions you conduct there. Hearing this, Jack hung up. The pilot asked Denny, Why do? Ain't you just kill me? Denny replied, Because I'm nothing like you. The pilot replied, You guys are really nothing like me, because you're worse than me. Will sees a plane coming to rescue them, which overjoys them. The pilot says, "Nothing will happen with this plane, you guys. Won't be able to land it, all three of us will die in it, and the gangster, Mafia, will be saved forever." Just then, Denny spots the runway and starts steering the plane towards it. Meanwhile, the pilot breaks free from his handcuffs and attacks Denny. Denny then shoots him severely, wounding the pilot. She then takes control of the plane, and the captain tells her to calm down and explains how to land a plane. Denny slowly lowers the plane. The plane is shaking violently, but she lands on the runway and continues moving forward. Meanwhile, the plane's tires break, and the pilot is thrown out when the doors break. Just then, an ambulance comes from behind, crushing him, killing him. The plane then comes to a stop and the entire medical team is now gathered around them. But Denny sees Will unconscious. She picks him up, and officers arrive and start taking them both out. Just then, a girl tells Denny that the pilot was hit by a car and is dead. Denny replies, "It's a good thing. He deserved it." Then she sees Will being taken away in an ambulance. But then, a man, strange to her, silently walks into Will's ambulance. Denny runs to open the ambulance door and sees the man posing as an officer beating Will. So she kills him on the spot, saving Will's life once again. But Will is terrified. That's why Denny consoles him. Just then, Jack calls the killer who had come to kill Will. Denny answers. Jack asks, "Is Will dead or not?" Denny replies, "He's not dead. I saved him, but this time, kids, you're gonna die. I won't spare you." With that, she hangs up. The officers are overjoyed to see that both men have survived. This is all due to Annie's bravery, and the film story ends there.